What's good, everyone? This is your boy DJ's Raw Uncut Truth, give you that raw content that you deservedly need. And I got a treat for you. My boy Jay Stokes. He's gonna keep it real with y'all and tell you what the Pelicans need to work on, what was their problems, what Zoe has to do for the next season to really show his potential. This brother's a real one. Enjoy.
And it don't surprise me. It happened right on time as usual. Pelicans dropped a big game, and it's yeah. But you know, I know what the conversation is going to be. The conversation is going to be Gentry's rotations, Fox, Cook, Zoe, and the defense giving up all those points. And a lot of that is true. The rotations suck, but you know, we're used to it. You know, it always happens when we need it most. It always happens. Fox was cooking, but he wasn't cooking Zoe. A lot of his points came against Drew and everybody else, the bench. I think DJ's Raw Uncut Truth. Shout out to DJ. I think he said that he got like 18 points against the bench. So I think he finished with 18. So, you know, that's, 18 out of his 30, is from the bench. That's, the starters didn't do too bad. Starters didn't do too bad. But Drew was playing some piss poor defense in the beginning. One of the things that nobody talks about that bothers me to no end is the lack of speed on defense. What I mean is, one of the things that I pay attention to when I watch a lot of teams is how quickly they get the ball across half court and how long it takes for the defenses to get set on half court. If you go back and watch a lot of the Pelicans games from their bad defense, part of the problem is their defense doesn't get set until 17 seconds is on the clock. By then, a lot of the other teams are already across by at least the 19 seconds. So they're already in the process of running their plays. The Pelicans' defense does not get set in time to actually defend. And then the communication on the switches or what they're running or how they're going to defend is not clear. So we have ended up with possessions where there'll be Frank Jackson in, and he be in with Josh Hart, JJ Redick. And there's a switch that's supposed to happen. And JJ, Josh Hart, and Frank are all on one or two people, and there's somebody clear across the court wide open. And then you'll see one of them, usually JJ, slow-footed ass JJ, try to run and contest, and then he just gives up because he knows he's already beat. He can't stop the shot. And then they get the bucket. That is one of the recurring problems. Yes, get your points, but get your ass back on defense. It's a difference when you set up your defense in 20 seconds into the shot clock versus 17. Now you got time to get your man, pick up your man, and get it to and play your defense. When you're sitting there at 17 seconds and Fox is already with the ball at the top of the key, he's going to get his mismatch. He's going to break past Zoe or Drew or anybody else in the league, and then he's going to kick it to the open guy if he needs to. But usually Fox is so damn fast, he can just take it to the hole himself. That's part of the problem. That's not just with the Kings. That is with any other team I've seen. They take entirely too long to get back on defense. They're lollygagging along to do all that. And you know what? The same thing on offense, too. If you go look at their offense, unless they're in transition and Zoe does his job. Now Zoe, I'll give them credit with Zoe. Zoe will try to get that ball up there within 20 seconds and get them running their offense. Usually that's when they get the best shots. If you don't believe me, go watch the film. This is something I've consistently noticed. But Zoe won't get credit for this because people are going to look at the raw numbers. People are going to go look at, the bad shooting percentages and stuff, and I get it. Zoe needs to work on that. But nobody's going to give him credit for actually getting the ball up the court and getting them into the set or their motions or their actions so they even get the good shot anyway. Yes, he won't get credit for any of the other stuff, but the fact that he pushed the pace and got them to half court within a certain length of time so they can actually get into their sets and run their sets and get their advantages is something that he's not going to get credit for. And I've not heard a single pundit or anybody else on YouTube talk about this. This is very, very important. Teams with bad defenses, I assure you not, more times than not, they will not be setting their defenses in time to actually defend the other team. So that's one of my first points. Secondly, the roster is terrible. I said this before the season started. I'm going to say it again. That roster is shit. One of the things that pissed me off today to no end is, Gentry would take out all the starters at some point, whether it was he take out 2 or 3 here and then get another 2 or 3 later. And then you end up with J.J. Redick, Frank Jackson, Josh Hart, Nico Melli, and Jackson Hayes. Now, here's the problem. Frank Jackson is as far as a ball handler. Outside of that, nobody else on that team can really dribble except Nickeil Alexander-Walker, which honestly, I would rather take Nickeil in the game to at least dribble because he has handles versus Frank. Frank has deer in headlights mode. He gets the ball and starts busting unproliferated orgasms all over the place. He's like, I got the ball. It's time to attack. Woo! And he just takes off running. There's play. He don't even sit there and let the play set up. He's like, I got the ball. There's a pick. I'm gone. And patience is something that should be exercised in a lot of those situations. But the problem, back to the point. So if Frank Jackson is off the ball, who is your ball handler? On top of the fact that you're already undersized, who is going to hold the ball? Who's going to issue out the orders and stuff? Because it can't be Frank. You can give the ball to JJ, but JJ can't handle the ball. Josh Hart don't have any handles. Nobody else has handles. So if you're going to run your rotation, you are going to have Drew or Lonzo in with that bench unit. Or if you're going to put B.I., they had a formation out there with B.I., and B.I. was not getting the ball. B.I. should have been running the offense. And the problem with that is, too, if you're going to have B.I. run the offense, you're putting an immense amount of pressure on him to not only facilitate, but to knock down his shots. He has Frank Jackson, who's pretty much useless. You got Josh Hart, who, I don't know if people have noticed, but his jump shot is entirely too slow. Josh Hart will get the ball, and by the time he sits there, he does his little palm thing. He's got to sit there, set the ball in his hands. The defender is on him. He had an open shot, and this happens every game, and he can't take it because his jump shot is way too low. I mean, not way too, it takes way too long. So you got Josh Hart, who can't really get an open shot unless somebody slipped and just forgot about him. Then you got Nico Melli. He's a high IQ player. He can knock down shots, but he's not consistent enough for me where I would say he's a knockdown shooter yet. Outside of that, he's too clunky, he's clumsy. He will give you effort, he will give you smart plays, but he's mainly just a waste of space out there. Let's just be honest. And I like Nico Melli. But then there's Jackson Hayes. Jackson Hayes is just kind of at the mercy of the rest of the team. He's just like, and you'll look at him, he's like, okay, what the fuck am I supposed to do? Like somebody, hey, like they're trying to get the pick, and he's like, What do you want me to do? I don't know. What, like, and that's another thing. I get it that you gentry want to say, "Oh, I want to run these motion offenses. We don't run plays." But the problem is, the offense at times gets confused. They don't even know what the fuck to do. And if you don't have one of those two, Drew or Zoe, preferably Zoe, or maybe even Bi, then you're gonna have a clusterfuck. So what happened was, in particular in the third quarter, and I'm pretty sure everybody was talking about it on Twitter, he pulled out all the starters at one point and they had the game within like 2 or 3 points. Then he put all those guys in and all the stuff I said started happening. Now the lead is up 12 within like 2 minutes left. You're just like, right on schedule. Even with Bi in, Bi wouldn't even get in the ball to make any kind. He couldn't do anything. And when he did get the ball, it's the last 10 seconds, and he's forced to make a play. That's not fair to Bi too, to put him in that situation. Okay, come bail us out. No, you assholes need to learn to play around Bi. Let's just keep it honest. You need to learn to play around Bi. Bi is obviously the best player on the team. Or you could debate that between him and Zion. But as far as it's concerned, he's the best offensive player, period. He can hit it from anywhere on the court. If he wants the ball at the top of the key, give him the goddamn ball at the top of the key. If you're not a starter, if you're not Zoe, if you're not Zion, and honestly, I don't even want to include Zion because Zion ain't played enough. If you ain't Zoe, you need to shut the fuck up. You shut the fuck up. Now, I don't mind him listening to JJ because JJ has experience and JJ has been in the playoffs. So, if JJ wants to give him a little bit of guidance on the court, fine. But Bi needs the first touch. Bi needs the first touch. Bi needs to get set and get in a position to attack. He needs to get the first touch every time. Then Zion. Lonzo and Zion, they can do their thing. Lonzo can feed Zion. He knows how to do that. That's the one thing I'll give Lonzo credit for. I don't have to question, him actually getting people the ball. I know he will find him at any moment. If there's a shot, if Zion's got position and he's gonna get the alley, I have no problem with that. That's where I trust Zoe. But outside of that, there's no reason Bi shouldn't be getting, this is something I noticed. Bi will have 10 or 11 shots maybe, or not, somewhere between 8 and 11 shots in the first half. Zion, who don't even play nearly as many minutes, will have 14, 15 shots. 12, 13, 14 shots. And I'm like, how? Bi needs those shots. That's your guy. At the end of the game, we'll have something like Zion with 18, 19 shots, and Bi with 14, 15. It's just what the fuck? Give Bi those shots. He needs those shots. He should be consolidating the bulk of the offensive shots. He's earned that right. He is your all-star. And that goes into another issue. What's the hierarchy for this team? Who does this team run through? Is it Zion or Bi? Is it Lonzo? What is the pecking order of the team? Because right now, what it looks like is we got a whole bunch of Chiefs and not enough Indians. Everybody want to get their input and run the show. My personal opinion, the only two people that need to be dictating actions out there is Zoe and Bi. Bi because he's the best player, and Lonzo because he's the smartest player, and he's the point guard, and he's your best point guard, and he's one of the smartest in the league. Other than that, everybody else needs to shut up, fall in line. Period. End of story. That we need an established. Okay, Bi, you're the man. This is your team. Zion, you're second fiddle to him. You will take the pressure off of him. You guys work together. You're going to get this two-man action. We're going to use both of your skill sets to bring the best out of each of your games. That's fine. Instead, 1 minute we got Zoe. Next minute we got Drew. Then we got Bi. Then we got JJ. Then we got Zion. Then we got Frank Jackson. Then we got Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Then we got E'Twaun Moore. Like, there's way too many people calling shots. Back to the roster problem. I said at the beginning of the year that the roster was terrible. Why? Because they don't have any size. Any team pretty much with a big man, like a legit big man, and no offense to Favors, but Favors is actually a power forward. He is a power forward masquerading as a center. And so he's playing out of position. So those games where people are like, oh my God, Favors is terrible. Favors is a power forward. He's not a center. He is undersized. He is undermanned. He is high IQ. He's smart. He knows what he's doing and everything, but that's not good enough. He's not going to win those matchups like that. That's a huge hole in that roster. But anyway, let's talk about the guards. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, E'Twaun Moore, Frank Jackson, J.J. Redick, Josh Hart, Drew Holiday, and Lonzo Ball. Now that's what? 6, 7, 8 guards. Then we got, and we're not even talking about some of the others like Kenrich Williams, who I guess is a combo guard forward and everything. But then we have B.I. There's really no other small forward behind B.I. It's just him. Zion, Nico Melli, Jackson Hayes, Derek Favors, and Ja Rule, a.k.a. Jahlil Okafor. And that's it. And when Zion was out, it was just B.I., Melli, Favors, Hayes, and Ja. And that's it. Who is supposed to step out and guard the forwards, or can guard and switch a guard to guards and it's not down the shots? Everybody has holes in their game. Yes, B.I. is not as good on defense as he was in L.A. There's reasons for that, and I'll get into that in another video. But Zion is too slow. He's too heavy to try to guard, faster players laterally. And the taller players are just, even if he's strong, they're just too tall for him. And there's not a lot he can do about that. He's just mismatched, and that's going to happen. He can help and alleviate a lot of that by losing some weight, but that's going to take time. There's nothing he really can do about that right now. He can try to increase his technique and his IQ defensively, but all that stuff takes time. That's not going to be an easy fix. So there's that. Nico Melli, I got into him a little earlier. Jackson Hayes, he's not doing a lot of the ticky-tack shit he was doing at the beginning of the year. Part of it, I think, also is he hasn't been playing as much, but he's going to take some time. He's a rookie. So I completely understand that. Ja doesn't play defense at all. Not just that, he doesn't set a pick worth a damn. He doesn't get any separation. His mindset is always give me the ball and attack. He doesn't do anything other offensively than just score. On defense, he's way too slow. His IQ is low. He's just not good. Like, all that bulk and size for nothing is practically useless. Derek Favors, like I said, he's really a power forward. He's undersized. He's high IQ, though. He can play defense and everything, but he doesn't offer you anything that you can't get anyway from Jackson Hayes other than just the IQ and experience. So there's really not a lot there to work with. So the teams that they lost to, notably Milwaukee, big front court. Lakers got swept by, big front court. Orlando, big front court. Dallas got swept, big front court. OKC, big front court. And they got a lot of bench depth size too. Like, this is a recurring thing. When I said this was going to happen, they're going to struggle against those teams with huge front courts. The teams that they're going to be very well against is finesse teams, or teams that have heavily influenced by guard play. Portland, they match up pretty well with Portland. Golden State, they match up well with them. Memphis, they match up well with them. Teams like that who don't have the size like they do, they match up pretty well with them, and they can beat them usually consistent. The roster is just terrible. Honestly, if it was up to me, you keep the Laker trio, you keep the rookies. Everybody else got to go. And if I could get rid of Melly, I'd get rid of Melly too. But I'll keep Walker. I think he could develop to be a very nice player. I think Jackson Hayes could be a very nice player. I'd keep Melly if I have to, but if I could, I'd flip him for something. And what they really need is they need to rebuild that roster. There needs to be another ball handler with an exceptional IQ who can at least knock down shots. There needs to be somebody else that can come in after Zoe, and then you don't have to worry about the pace of the game and things getting out of control. They're going to sit there, set people, and play the game. I kind of like George Hill for that. That's just a suggestion. Yes, I would get rid of Drew. I would trade Drew for, I don't know. I think we need a Danny Green. I love Drew. I think he's great, but I think a Danny Green type of player, I'm not saying get Danny Green, but a Danny Green type of player is what the Pelicans need. They need some size and some length and some athletes. They need some people that get up and down the floor and it's going to run. But one of the main problems with the Pels, and why you're having a lull between some of the guys like Zoe and a few others, is they don't get, their defense is terrible. For them to play the way they were designed, they need to have an elite defense, and they just don't have it. So an elite defense with some athletic players that can go out there and play and knock down shots and play defense, that'll make this team look completely different. Completely different. If you can get a stretch five, great. If not, what I would personally do is, while I'm focusing on Zion's health, I would get Fred Vincent. Hey, you gotta knock down shots. He's got to work on that. He could be a stretch five. Yes, he would be undersized too, but the difference is if Zion can knock down 38% from three, now when you run the pick and roll with Zion and Zoe, Zion has the option to sit back and knock down a shot, and they gotta respect it. Lonzo gets the one-on-one, and he has the first step. He has enough first step as it is right now to beat his guy off the dribble and take it to the rack. That improves Lonzo's game, but it'll elevate BI's game too, because when you put BI with them, now it's like, okay, what's BI gonna do and what's Zion gonna do? Now it's just like, okay, we'll sag off of BI and we'll stick with Zion, and we'll try to play up on BI as close as we can. We'll put somebody in between, and that'll work in a lot of cases, but those two are just talented and they'll overcome it. But when you have to guess between what Zion is going to do, and Zion is smart, now you add a whole nother dimension, because now BI can get a one-on-one. Or you can even get him a free drive to the rack, because they might both stick on Zion if he's on fire, and now you open up the floor for everybody else. But right now, this roster is terrible. Gentry's going to have to go. I don't know what coaches are available. I would have to look that up and make another video about that. But this one is already 23 minutes long, and that's all. I just kind of want to put my little synopsis out there. I have a lot more to say. I just don't want to drag this video long as my first video. But I'll be back to talk more about the Pelicans. But that piece of shit right there, y'all could have kept that. Like, y'all could have kept that shit, But go Pels, I guess. Go Pels. Won't bow down my ass. They bow down like a motherfucker. But this is Jay Strokes. I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace. And shouts to the rest of my fam on Twitter. DJ and Ramon Wilson and the others that's out there. If I forget you, it's because my mind is kind of all over the place and shit right now. But I know some of y'all are like, you two are the main ones. So shout outs to you.